Welcome to the RetailWire Podcast, the show bringing you the very best in expert analysis, insights, and discussions straight from some of the retail industry's leading experts. Whether you're a retailer looking to stay ahead of the curve, a supplier navigating the ever-changing retail landscape, or someone who just really loves retail, we've got you covered. Get ready. It's time for another great episode here on the RetailWire Podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Brian. I'm back again with another great episode here on the RetailWire Podcast, and I'm super pumped because I've just been having some really great conversation before hitting record here with my next guest. He is the co-founder and partner at Ascendant Loyalty Marketing. He co-owns that with his buddy Jay Weinberg. Previously with Deloitte Digital, Accenture, and client side with department stores, retail stores, and pure play e-commerce companies. And like I said, he's been a Brain Trust member here at RetailWire for a little more than 8 years now, I think. So I'm going to say welcome to the show, Mr. David Slavick. How are you?
I am fabulous. This is going to be one heck of a show and really excited to visit with you, Brian. This is great.
If I had a seatbelt, I would buckle it right now because I think so far, just leading up to this, we've had little side conversations around the Peabody Ducks, world religions, ribs, and barbecue sauce. So I can only imagine what's going to come out on the air. But so tell us just a little bit about who you are before we get into all the fun, silly details. Yeah, who are you, man? Where are you at? What makes David Slavick you?
A lot of it is just having a love and a passion for life. Our kind of pre-call was a lot of fun just to get to know each other, and look forward to sharing a lot on this call with you, Brian. I feel like we're best friends already.
Right?
So I grew up in Chicago, in the inner city, and from an early age, growing up in a lower middle class household, simple little 6-room apartment. 3 boys, mom and dad married for 57 years. You had to make money. I didn't get an allowance. So from the time that, believe it or not, I was 10 years old, I would jump on my bike, which didn't have any gears, and go up about 8 blocks up a hill on Arthur Avenue in Chicago. And I would actually open up the drugstore and start the day for that drugstore. And then eventually the pharmacist would show up. So the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times dropped off the papers and all of the inserts with all the coupons at the front door, all bailed up with wire. And I had to carry it in and then assemble all the newspapers. And at the time, back then, you didn't have delivery. No one bothered. It was part of their regular routine to, take a walk, get their Sunday newspaper, get their coupons, maybe buy a pack of cigarettes, buy a Coke, whatever it was, maybe pick up a prescription once the pharmacist was in. And at 10 years old, I was behind the cash register, ringing up orders, and they didn't have restrictions back then. So if somebody wanted a pack of Camels or Cools or Marlboros, the 10-year-old was handing them their cigarettes. And I was making about $1 an hour. So, I would work at the drugstore in retail and understood all about setting shelves and, dealing with all the merchandise and taking inventory, and then worked at a grocery store, packing orders and learning how to pick the right kind of a melon, where you pick up a melon and you got to smell both sides of the melon. And then based on its smells, you either know if it's ripe and ready to eat, or there's no smell and it's got to sit there for a while. So little tricks of the trade.
Absolutely.
Worked at a Walgreens, one of the original Walgreens at Howard and Western in Chicago. And over time, what happened was, on the 3rd floor of our building was a gentleman that worked for the Leo Burnett agency.
Okay.
So, advertising was really cool. It wasn't Mad Men back then for me and my age, but nevertheless, it was kind of neat. Hey, you work in advertising. What do you do? I do music beds. So he was like the Charlie Harper from 2.5 Men of the Leo Burnett agency. Well, you mean you do different music for the different clients? Oh, yeah. when you place an ad on a radio station, if it's an urban station for an African American audience versus a rock station versus a classical music station, you're not playing the same music to go along with the copy, and you may
Yeah.
even adapt the copy. And I'm like, wow, that's really, really cool. So you actually work with orchestras and with bands and everything else, and like you actually write the music. And yep, that's what I do. I write the music, and then when people hear the ad on the radio or even on television, it's a different bed of music. Then people are more receptive to the commercial from Procter and Gamble, from Kellogg's, from Kimberly Clark, whoever it was that was a Burnett client. I was like, that is the coolest thing. I think I'm going to go into advertising.
All right.
So, graduated from lovely Senn High School in the inner city of Chicago, applied to the University of Illinois, got into the business school, applied as a junior, which is the way it worked, into the advertising school, College of Communications at Illinois, got my bachelor's in advertising, stayed through and got my master's, figured I would just go straight through, and got hired by Footcone, which is a really strong publicist agency today still,
Yeah.
and worked on Kraft and S.E. Johnson and Pizza Hut business, and then eventually went to work at Kimberly Clark, and managed a $60 million budget for Kimberly Clark and the CPG side with feminine hygiene products and Kleenex and Huggies diapers and all that good stuff. And so the first half of my career was all retail, consumer packaged goods. And then over time, the one thing that was really taking hold, the old saying, 50% of advertising works and 50% doesn't. You just don't know what 50%, is the one that works, was
Yeah.
direct marketing and loyalty.
Okay.
And so I went to work for a company called Frequency Marketing in Cincinnati, which eventually became Epsilon today, which is one of the biggest firms, if not the most prominent firm in that space. And that's where I got that foundation. So it was just great, working with different clients on a global basis. And then, went client side, like you said, and had great experience in department store and specialty retail, American Eagle Outfitters and Pure Play Online, FTD, the flour company. And then, eventually towards the tail end of, somebody paying me a salary, Accenture and Deloitte, and the last 4 years in partnership with Jay with Ascendant Loyalty. But long ago, about like you said, 8 years ago, been on Brain Trust and just absolutely love it. And so it's
Yeah.
great to be with you today.
Man, that is a whirlwind of an experience right there, man. So you started out around, you said 10 years old, opening a drugstore, and then that turns into you helping run Ascendant Loyalty Marketing, which is that's such a awesome journey to have had. When you think back to like the drugstore days and stuff, I mean, were you just kind of you were just looking for something to do to make money and just kind of fill the gap at that point? How did your parents feel about that?
Back then it was safe to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
go to open up a drugstore. You even had the keys to the drugstore. There were a lot of drugs in that drugstore too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it was just, my parents were trustworthy and, just be careful. Didn't have a cell phone in my pocket to be able to call them to say, hey, I'm inside and the door is locked. And I'm assembling those newspapers. But yeah, growing up lower middle class, I didn't get an allowance. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to hustle and you made the money that you used to go to the movies and do fun things and, ride the L in Chicago and go downtown and have fun with your friends and go golfing. There's a lot of public courses in Chicago. So it's great. Great.
Yeah. That's a hoot, man. I love this, and I'm like, there's so many areas that we could go into, and I just don't. Yeah, I would go down so many rabbit trails with you right now. But well, man. So again, just thanks for being on the episode here. And so we're talking about, now you're in this area of loyalty marketing. You've already told us you kind of grew up around it and everything. Were there kind of along the way? I would imagine even before we get into the loyalty marketing side, um, who are some influential people? I know you mentioned like the ad guy across the street, but like, who would you say were some influential people who were like, hey, let me encourage you along this path. Oh, you want to do this? Oh, well, then I would say you need to jump into this, or you need to grow here, or become smarter here, or stay away from this. Who are those people for you?
Yeah. So obviously, I wish I remember the guy's name that was on the third floor of our building. Um, but that was kind of the beginning thing, just to understand how cool, because I love music. Okay.
Yeah.
I was actually a DJ on WPGU in Champaign from 2 and 6 in the morning, where everybody called me and said, play Freebird every hour.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, got to play it every hour. But he was an influence, and then again, you get lucky in life. So my brother married a St. Louis girl, and his uncle by marriage is a gentleman by the name of Aaron Cushman.
Okay.
And Cookie had his own advertising and PR firm in Chicago, and he was best friends with Bill Veeck. And so Bill Veeck was the owner of the White Sox. Again, another passion of baseball, even though I'm a Cubs fan. And, I visited with him because my brother's 7 years older than me. So at the age of 13, I'm standing up for my brother in his wedding, and I meet Cookie. And he says, "So what are you going to do with your life, young man? What are you interested in?" I told him the whole story about my guy on the third floor. And he goes, "Yeah, advertising would be good." Cookie advised me from the time of 13. Cookie wrote my recommendation to the University of Illinois, personal recommendation to get me into the college. Of course, you had to have a high grade point average to get in as well. Not anybody could apply because it's very
Yeah.
small college in population. It's the smallest college, actually, College of Communications, which is now the College of Media at Illinois. Um, Smallest by population at the whole university. And so Cookie was a huge influence on me. God bless him. He just passed away just, I think, about 2 years ago, well past 90. And then from Cookie, it was a fellow by the name of Billy Payton. So Billy Payton created the encircle program at Neiman Marcus. Billy grew up hard scrabble, lower income. He showed me his house one day that he grew up in. Oh my God,
Yeah.
in Dallas, and he created that rewards program at Neiman Marcus, which is a pretty significant thing back then in terms of clienteling.
Okay.
So you had personal shoppers in the department store that would work with the customer to help them with their shopping experience. They knew everything about what was inside the customer's closet. They knew what their favorite colors were. They knew what their favorite styles were. They knew when, all their anniversaries were, their birthdays, and they would make phone calls to these customers of Neiman Marcus and any one different market, and be able to do that kind of personal shopping service. It was totally innovative, and as part of the overall component, based upon how much you spend, you got something back. And we showed
Yeah.
appreciation to you, and then you could use that reward towards a future purchase. Naturally, there was lots of other benefits, free tailoring, and free shipping even back then, and free gift wrapping, and easy return policies and everything else. And so Billy taught me a lot. He was at the Brierley agency, and we hired Brierley as our platform. Brierley was recently acquired by a company out of India called Capillary Technologies in the last couple of months. But
Okay.
they were true innovators in the loyalty space, working with United Airlines, working with Hertz. And Billy switched from client side at Neiman Marcus to Brierley. And when I was at American Eagle and I was looking for a partner for the American Eagle Outfitters All Access Pass program, we hired Brierley, and they were with them for about 18 years in sum total, well past after I left AE. So I learned a lot from Billy, about clienteling, about personal service, about innovation, all of that
Yeah.
good stuff. Hmm.
Man, that is insane. Like the more that we're on here, I'm just gonna say, if you're listening to the episode right now, I'm just gonna encourage you, down in the show notes. There's gonna be a link to David's LinkedIn profile. Be sure and connect with him, because if this is fascinating to you at all, David, I'm just gonna put it out there. They can probably reach out, right, and learn a lot more about this, because uh, man, I don't think that I have enough memory on my memory card here for recording all this. So if you really
But
get
yes, on
everything.
LinkedIn, I have my business email address anytime, any questions
Okay.
at all. And my phone number cell is on my profile as well. And I'm super passionate to pass along good karma.
Yeah.
So, folks to reach out with any kind of question whatsoever, they're not going to get sold. They're going to ask a question and get an answer or a good piece of advice or a referral to the right place to go to get those answers. Because having been in this business for as long as I have been, I know a lot of people on a global basis and can put you in touch with really strong, high integrity, ethical people to ultimately help you in that regard. So by all means. And same goes for looking for a job. I'm helping a number of people right now to find something, as a matter of fact. Yep.
That's really awesome. So let's go back. I think you mentioned that you started in loyalty, specifically loyalty marketing, in around, was it 97? Is that
Yes.
about right? Okay.
Hmm.
So obviously a lot has changed since then. But before we even get into that, what was something that that said, "Hey, loyalty marketing," or was it called loyalty marketing at that point? You mentioned
Yeah.
the Neiman Marcus thing. So,
Yeah.
was it something that what was the thing, the catalyst that said, "Hey, that's exactly where I want to go into"? Was it the Neiman Marcus situation that you mentioned, or?
It's more about the fact that it's programmatic
Mhm.
and it integrates with overall marketing platform. It
Yeah,
supports the brand, so it brought in the advertising component, which I love, and the messaging to the customer. And it's a way to go and bring the customer closer to the brand
yeah,
ultimately and to provide a differentiated experience because every brand has its own persona. Every brand has its own unique attributes. You want to bring that out and deliver it in a more forward way to really make the customer feel appreciated. So
yeah,
it's not about discounting. Loyalty is not, transaction based discounting. There's deal loyalty and there's brand loyalty. And so companies that are doing it that are more deal oriented and it's just push, push, push discounts and savings and so on and so forth, that works
yeah,
because their orientation is promotion. And that's the reason why I signed up permission based to get the emails and be interested when I'm willing to shop. But you could see, for example, with Bed Bath and Beyond shutting down, or a lot of these other brands that have gone away, like Pier One, et cetera, if that's all you're doing is
yeah,
offering discounts, but you're not offering differentiated value and you're not doing things from an innovative standpoint to help the brand and elevate the brand
yeah.
and
Well,
differentiate according to the different customer value segments, then you fail. And so the reason why loyalty was so interesting to me is because it combined both the advertising and marketing side with the direct marketing aspect and the
mm,
high level of traceability and accountability that's associated with it, because I can match you, Brian, to your behavior in shopping at XYZ and
yeah,
understand what your lifetime value worth is to me. And based on that, I could do more and better things to make you shop me instead of the competition. So it's a share of market, share of wallet aspect. Mhm.
yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, exactly to that. Like, I know loyalty marketing, even in just general retail, it's people can get so caught up in the programs and the offers and the sale price and everything else, but we forget a lot, and we forget very quickly that it at the end of the day, it's still about relationship, right? It's still about people. And so if the more that you can understand your customer, the more you can, know what's in their closet, know what's in their drawers in their kitchen, what's, the colors that they like, the patterns that
Yes.
they like, things like that, then the more that you can appeal, and you can really segment down to an area of advertising and a level of advertising that really just hits them in their core, not just on that surface level of, oh, hey, here's a sale, but here's a sale on that item that you've been looking for, and you get the exclusive right to it because of this loyalty program, right?
Right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you're speaking about is personal. You couldn't have said it any better. What you're speaking about, and you find that from surveys, is I've got all this data, but I'm not optimizing it. I
Yeah.
aspire to personalization, and the customer is saying, I'm sharing my information with you. I know you're tracking me and tracing me.
Yep.
Show me that you know me. So
Yeah.
it's all about relevancy. That was the other part of what you were just describing. And that's exactly right. And that's the reason why artificial intelligence, machine learning, strong analytics, having a good foundation of voice of customer research,
Yep.
all those things need to be part of the plan. They need to
Yeah.
be part of the operating capability. It's not just sign up, track the behavior, have it in a database, and then promote. That's
Yeah.
not good enough. You've got to have all those other foundational parts working for you. And so the good part is, you asked, how are things changed? The good part is there's a lot of great providers out there on the technology side, on the
Yeah.
software as a service technology side. Typically, the Forrester Wave is a good resource to see who's out there. And there are a lot of companies that actually are, providing the service, but they're not in the wave. So you got to do your research as well. But Forrester is a great starting point. Um,
Yeah.
they're providing, they used to just provide loyalty. So points, basic stuff, get double points, triple points. You're in one particular tier or segment of value of customer, and you're going to get differentiated benefits in a longer list if you're a VIP versus you just joined and all that kind of stuff. Now they've
Yeah.
gotten more into the customer relationship marketing area and provide even more additive services. They've built, analytic capability, they've built research capability, they've built the capability to do gamification, they've built the capability to provide email services to clients. All of those incremental benefits, companies are adding those. So if the client is interested in consolidating all those capabilities, you could do that with one vendor or one partner who has all those. So, whether, like Salesforce has the marketing cloud and the service cloud, and now they have loyalty management. That's an option where it's all in one place. But there are some clients that don't want to put all their eggs in one basket, and that's okay too. But the good part is, for a lot of different clients that are maybe medium sized and they're 5 billion or less in sales, for them to have one partner that can do a lot of those things, handle referrals, handle reviews, content management, et cetera. It's nice to have a really solid partner that can do a lot of those things, and that's how the market has evolved from a tech standpoint. And the cost has gone way down on a per customer basis to service it too.
Yeah. Well, and so, you mentioned there's been so many advancements in like the availability of solutions really
Mhm.
is so much more prominent today than it was 15, 20, 30 years ago. Um is there an area though that you still see retailers or clients um, just still fumbling, even though they have all this plethora of
Mhm.
you like that? I threw in my big word for the day.
That's good.
Um, they have the giant assortment of things available to them. Is there something that you see a lot of people still making the same mistake over and over and over, or maybe depending on one certain area to save them, or getting tunnel vision, getting sideswiped by something?
Well,
What does that look like?
it's like um, Jeff Bezos is a brilliant guy, and he creates Amazon Prime, and he then purchases Whole Foods. And so you go to Whole Foods. I think it's the same way before as it is now. If you're an Amazon Prime customer and you go to Whole Foods after he purchased them, you get 10% off on your ticket. I mean, how
Mm,
fabulous is that? With inflation being what it is in grocery, thank God it's going down a little bit. People see what Amazon is doing with Amazon Prime, charging over $119 or whatever it is, 129, for the service, and they go, "Well, we should do a subscription program." Well, you better be careful going into subscriptions. So I think that trends are emerging in a whole bunch of different areas, whether it's improving, and where the weakness is, as I said, you can collect the data, but if you don't have an effective analytical foundation, you're failing. And by the
mhm.
way, one of the best areas to go into, period, the end, and where full employment can be found is in analytics.
Yeah.
So if you have a child and they're just starting out in college and they like math, have them study statistics and modeling and analytics, and they'll be full-time employed for the rest of their life. They don't have to be a lawyer. They don't have to
Yeah.
be a doctor. They can go into analytics and they'll be full-time employed no matter what industry they go into, because people want to know what the data is showing them and how to go and apply it. Another
Yep.
place where there's a gap is you do have the analytics and you've got the data and you can use all the great visual tools that are available out there for you. But where are the implications relative to the data? Who's
Mm-hmm.
looking at the data and saying, today I saw this trend, and
Yep.
strategically or tactically, we should do a test and learn program based upon what we're seeing and how our customer is behaving.
Yeah,
So
because
there's,
all data points tell that story, right? I mean,
yep,
they all point to something.
yes,
Occasionally, there's the weird anomaly that happens, and I
sure,
totally understand that. But for the biggest majority of everything, when you have the right kind of person who can decipher the data points, then they can tell you that whole story
right.
of
And
what's going on.
don't just present the charts and graphs to me and leave it at that.
Yep.
Talk to me and write it up intelligently and tell me what you see, and work cooperatively with the program managers, with the owner of the program, with the chief marketing officer, whoever it is,
Yep.
and say, this is what we're seeing and this is what we should do. Now,
Yeah.
somebody's going to go and say, well, we have all these wildly important goals. How do we do that too? Well, shame on you. You should have a test and learn budget. You should have a
Yeah.
set aside budget just for testing.
Mm.
Okay. So you don't just like create it in the middle of the calendar year. You should always be planning. If it's July, August, and you're thinking about 2024, set aside a test and learn budget to be able to then take the data and apply it to then drive your innovation. So that's
Yeah.
one area that is key and important. Another one is just simply be careful about doing subscriptions to try generating incremental revenue back into the enterprise, because once you start collecting that money from the customer, you got to deliver against it. And the advice that I always give a client when they say, should we explore subscription? Well, okay, you've got 10 million members. How many of the most passionate customers do you have that use the majority of your services? Now you're going to go and add incremental services or benefits to the overall mix. How many passionate customers do you? Well, I think 1 million. Okay, what
Yeah.
would you like to charge? $100. Well, if you go 1 million times 100, that's a big number. So then that
Yep.
gets everybody's attention, including the CFO and the CEO. Huzzah, we're going to make our bonus this year. Well, you darn well better
Yeah.
deliver, because if you don't, you're going to have 1 million customers that are going to cancel sometime during the first calendar year because they're disappointed because it was an empty promise. Or year two, you're going to be chasing after renewals,
Yep.
and that's an extra expense. And it also is demand on your call center. So be careful what you wish for when you jump into the subscription pool. Just because Amazon's doing it, or Lululemon's doing it, or Pete's Coffee is doing it, doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean that you should be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to know your
So,
model and you have to know your customer for sure.
and you've got to have, if you're charging $40, or in the case of Best Buy, $200
Hmm.
for a subscription annually with associated benefits, you need to deliver $400 worth of value back to that customer. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, this is a no-brainer. Of course I should pay 200. I love the brand. I bring my equipment in. They wind up going and repairing it. They've got, incremental type of service benefits that are associated with it. They'll come to my house and install my flat screen TV and not charge me for it. There's no hassles with returns or exchanges, all that kind of stuff. You made life easy for me. Okay, I'll pay the 200. Then what happens in year two? I don't have a flat screen and I don't have any repairs. Am I
Yeah.
still going to pay the 200? So you got to keep evolving what it is that you're doing. So I've commented a couple of times on what Best Buy's up to, and I think they're trying to go and generate incremental revenue. You just got to be careful about those things.
Yeah, there was a phrase, and I'm going to butcher it, but essentially it was, always be cautious what circus you start putting on because you got to keep showing up to perform, right? So,
That's it.
uh, and that's
And
the thing is
retail is a three-ring circus. We all know that.
it is, and you have to have, I think, to speak of that is like, to that point, not only do you have your year one stuff or your year two, but yeah, I could see that being a huge detriment to someone, to a company trying to launch out because everybody can see the quick gains that you can make, right? And you see, oh yeah, if we sell this times this, well then you can see that's where those big profits come from. But if you're not actively the second you launch, it's kind of like Christmas every year, right? So the second that Christmas is over, a retailer had better be planning for Christmas next year on December 26th, because otherwise, if they're not, they're already behind.
Yep.
Because it is constantly about offering the same value, offering the same experience or better. It's like you're saying, if people are spending that $200, well, sure, they'll drop it once because they can justify needing the TV discount, needing the TV installed, needing this and this and this. But year two or year three rolls around and they're going, man, I think I'm good. Actually, I think I'm set. I don't need that. What else you got for me? And you're sitting over here going, free TV install still. You need a new TV, right?
Like me.
Another TV, and they're like
Yeah,
going,
like
no,
like
no,
me.
I'm not paying
Yeah,
for it.
please like me. So
Yeah,
I want to talk about one thing which was always
yeah,
very impressive, and that was hindsight analysis or a look back or a
okay,
360. And we would do that at American Eagle Outfitters, so led by Michael Leedy and Adam Diamond in the marketing area, and I was part of that, running the CRM loyalty and credit card marketing and gift card at AE. It was a fabulous experience. Um,
yeah,
at each end of season, whether it was spring or summer or fall, but especially post holiday, we would do that hindsight analysis. And it wasn't just us evaluating ourselves on how well we executed or didn't execute our campaigns, but we talked with our credit card um, partner, which was GE Consumer Finance. Now it's Synchrony Bank spinoff.
okay,
We would
yeah,
we would talk with the field organization, store operations, headed up by a brilliant guy, Joe Karen and Tracy Beneman, and the whole communications team. And we'd say, what did we do well? What didn't we do well? How did we disappoint? How did we delight the customer? What kind of feedback did we get? We would do
mm,
surveys as well, but we wanted to hear firsthand to say, for next year, what could we do differently to even do better? How was the economy? We know what the economy was, but we had this performance, and in some places we had a plan in certain regions or whatever it was, and we didn't accomplish it. What was it? Was it the product? Was it that there was a lot of breakage in sizes? Was it
mm,
down traffic? Was it the things that our competition did at Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister and Urban and so on? And get all that feedback and sort through it and evaluate it in a very, not in a defensive position, but in a very proactive position, which would set us up for success for next year. I don't
yeah,
know how many retailers actually do that, but that was a practice that we had at AE, and it served us very, very well.
yeah, man, that's really cool. So what are you excited about right now in retail? What's kind of got what's is there something on the horizon that's coming that you're either experimenting with already or that you just can't wait to get your hands on from a loyalty perspective? I mean, what's something about that?
Well, I think the analytical tools I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
We have some strategic relationships with companies. One of the leading companies in the AI space, headed up
Mhm.
in the retail side by a good friend of mine, Mark Crystal, a company called Netail, Entail. It's
Okay.
kind of a weird way of saying it, but that's how it's spelled. And it's really the foundation of the company came from a fellow by the name of Andrew Ng. If you look him up, Andrew, and then NG basically is the brilliant innovator in AI. I know there's a lot of talk about Chat GPT and so on, but the bottom line is building that AI capability and have that automate a lot of it, what you do, and intuitive. I think that helps not to replace people on the
Mhm.
marketing or the loyalty side, but it ultimately fulfills on your communications effectiveness, your offer effectiveness, your analytics assessment, etc. So that's one place that I'm super excited about. I think that more companies are trying to do coalition programs, but through partners. So it's kind of like a player model where
Yep.
everybody participates and you're offering differentiated value, but I'm speaking to and servicing the same customer. So whether it's a movie theater with a restaurant chain, with a streaming service as a partner, with a flower company, with a food delivery company like a Blue Apron or a Sunbasket, you bring all of those partners together and they share the same type of customer base, and they can also reach new that help out others to go and grow their customer base. That's a super exciting area. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, I mean, there's so many places to go. People go and talk about affinity instead of loyalty. People talk about emotional connection, and I think that's another part of it, which is virality and differentiated service, like I was talking about, that goes all the way back to Neiman Marcus and comes all the way forward to today. And
Okay.
so, you know, how cool is Nike as an example, where you could, you know, design your own shoe, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's things that, you know, Nike does with community. You know, you have like a workout club, a fitness club, um, a
Running
club
club.
that you could running club, exactly right. So it's not it is the brand, but the brand is facilitating something that creates an emotional connection. So
Hmm.
a client of ours is Orvis, and they contribute 5% to nature and canine health.
Yeah.
The whole aspect of sustainability. Another client of ours is Rothy's, which are shoes and purses and other accessories that are manufactured predominantly from plastic bottles.
Yeah.
And so the whole sustainability, but also the responsibility that goes along with it. So it's conspicuous consumption. You know, we don't want you to buy 100 pairs of shoes. We want you to buy as many shoes as, you know, as you need for casual or for dress. But the bottom line is there's a recycling aspect that's associated with it, which is helping to save the planet, or at least make it a cleaner ocean or what have you. So
Yeah.
all of those themes, if sustainability is sincere and it actually, you know, fits with the brand and what corporate believes in and makes the employees proud of who they work for, I think that's, you know, very important as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's kind of funny that that brought to mind the. I think it's isn't it J Lo right now that's catching a lot of flack because she is touting an alcohol brand and she doesn't drink. So it's kind of fun. Um, but that's all.
I just watched the movie Mother, which is a Netflix
Okay.
original, just the other night. She was fabulous in it. So
Yeah.
what can I say? But yeah, that is a little hypocritical or whatever you want to say. She's in fabulous shape. She talked about how she, you know, worked with trainers to go and do all the stunts. Definitely watch that movie. It was
Sure.
really cool. Hmm.
I'm sure that took a lot. So that's awesome. Well, I know we got to wind down here. We've been going for a little bit, but if you were able to go back and kind of talk to yourself at 10 years old back in that drugstore, if you're able to go back and talk to yourself there and see the trajectory, knowing what you know now about where you're at, is there any advice or any input that you would give 10-year-old David as you're packing newspapers and opening up a register at 10 years old,
Uh,
or any
invest,
insight?
invest in the stock market earlier.
Right.
You know, pay attention to the tech boom that was happening during the Clinton years, and that made a lot of millionaires.
Yeah.
That would be, not that money is all important. I have a wonderful marriage and two beautiful children, and Sarah works in marketing, and Brad works in marketing, and we have two wonderful partners, Megan and Ben, and we have three gorgeous grandchildren, and everybody has their health. I still have my mother with us, and she is absolutely fantastic. My mom is 103 and a half,
That's impressive.
and
Wow.
she graduated from Northwestern in the 30s.
Yeah.
when women could only take 3 majors at Northwestern, because of course, why would women want to go into business?
Right? Yeah.
So
It's like,
I'm very, by the grace of God, I'm very, very happy with how my life has turned out. Julie and I have been married for 41 blessed years on May 21st. I have no complaints whatsoever. I have wonderful
man,
kids, wonderful grandkids, a great family life, great friends, fraternity brothers, friends since kindergarten. Okay,
yeah.
still. So it's all good. I'm very, very lucky. So what would I tell that guy? I'd say invest in the stock market early.
Yeah. And I think that's a good indicator for even people today too of just keep your eyes open for the things that are changing, the things that are growing. We're kind of on the boom. I even think that we're still really premature on AI. And so it's like I think be looking for those little companies, look for those little opportunities.
Mhm.
You're talking about stock market, but for what the stock market was for you in that moment, the exponential factor, it's kind of like the NFT thing. If people would have gotten in, very first whenever Gary Vee started talking about it, and then suddenly they would have blown up, and then they could have sold them off and been done with it. Because obviously NFTs have kind of gone down a little bit since then. The big explosion kind of has settled down, but I think they're going to rally again. I really do. I feel like they're going to have their QR code moment. But that said, I think keep an eye out for the things that are changing, the little players that can grow up very quickly and put your whole family. One, David, you've got a fantastic legacy there that you've built and that you are continuing to build, and so that family is really great, and such a cool thing to see. But you're right, money's not everything, but at the same point, it definitely helps. If you don't have it, it can definitely be a frustration. So, but yeah. Well, that's awesome,
At
man.
the right
Thank you.
point, also at the right point in time, plan on talking to a trust lawyer, because it's a good idea, because it's going to
Yeah.
make it a lot easier for your kids when you leave this. So
Yeah.
that's another piece of practical advice.
Good.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think everybody goes and talks about innovation. You
Mhm.
should always be thinking about innovation. You should always be thinking about just taking a moment and step away from your PC, step away from work, and breathe in the air, watch the birds, watch the trees, and try to come up with some really cool ideas that you can pursue and have passionate about, and that your
Yeah.
sponsors and your mentors can support you with. And don't be afraid, as they say, don't be afraid to fail. Try, learn, and keep trying to
Yeah.
innovate. That's probably one of the big ones, because we live in a world that will reward innovation and reward
Yeah.
big ideas. And I think that'll always continue.
That's awesome. Well, like we said, if you would like to connect with David more, you can check out the show notes here. His LinkedIn profile will be down there. Is there any other place that they should look to connect with you on, or is that probably the best place for you?
And then the company website, ascendantloyalty.com, ASCENDANT, and loyalty all together. And we have
Awesome.
a contact us tab as well. And again, as I said at the beginning, we're open anytime to have a chat. No worries. Sign an NDA or not sign an NDA. Your secrets are safe with us. But being part of Brain Trust and being part of RetailWire, it's a fabulous platform, and just a pleasure to be a part of it.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. Thank you so much again for being with us and being a member of the Brain Trust. Check out those show notes, and we'll see you guys next time here on the Retail Wire Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Retail Wire Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform and leave us a comment for a chance to hear it read on the next show. See you next time here on the Retail Wire Podcast.